And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Buccaneers fans and listeners. We are live, and we are so happy to have y'all tuned in with the RBLR Buccaneers Familia. Maybe you're listening to this from another state or another country, or perhaps you are locked in with us on this lovely day in the Bay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 week closer to the start of the NFL draft. So I'm going to say this, stay optimistic, all right? We're going to get through this offseason together. All right, and pulling up to the scene along with me are my co-hosts, aka the dynamic duo. You know, in the past, I called them the Devin White, Levante David duo, but obviously things have changed. So now we're gonna go the Antoine Winfield Jr. Jordan Whitehead duo. All right, and gentlemen, I'll let you decide who wants to be who. To my right, we got Mr. Zach Blaine in the house. Zach, talk to me, man. What's going on?
Oh, a whole lot of nothing, man. Work is kicking my butt lately, so I'm just excited to take a break and talk some Bucs with y'all.
Hell yeah, love to hear it. And to my left, the final piece to this RBLR trio, we got Mr. Carter Brantley in the house. Carter, what's going on, man? Think you might be on mute. Oh,
I'm on mute. I'm stupid. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm
This
headed to
guy.
this guy right now. It's like the first time we've recorded this thing or something. No, I'm headed to the Magic Pelicans game tomorrow. So that should be a lot of fun. I'm pretty hyped for that. I'm a big Pelicans fan, but the Magic are my second favorite team. So either way, I win. You know what I mean? So should be a lot of fun. The Heat are my least favorite team, by the way, Zach Blaine.
If I could flip you the bird right now, I would.
No, I'm just kidding. No, the Lakers are my least favorite team.
Agreed. So we can agree on something.
For sure. Then like the Celtics, and then the Warriors, and then the Heat. But the Heat only because I'm just
only because I like them.
Well, partially, yeah, just to make you mad. But anyways, there was a little bit of Bucs news this week. Not super major, but I thought it was fun because this was a guy that I'd wanted the Bucs to trade for the past couple of years. Tavierre Thomas, the slot guy from the Houston Texans. He's a bit of a veteran, but the Bucs signed him to a 1-year deal. He graded out pretty well last year coming out of that nickel position. He got a 72 from PFF, Pro Football Focus. But even if he's not necessarily a starter, he's got some special teams experience as well. So either way, it's a nice little depth piece. But Zach, I know you weren't super excited about this signing, so give us your reasoning, big dog. What's got you kind of down about this?
Okay, so I'm not down about it. Like, depth is depth. We need depth, and I'm not mad about the signing. It just seems like at this point it's pretty obvious that corner is going to be the biggest need on this team, and I think we're going to spend heavily on it in the draft. Because this guy he's a guy who's been in the league for 6 years, played on 3 different teams. Tampa will be his 4th. And he graded out decent last year, but he also played, I think, like half of the snaps that Izzian played. And so it's like, I get the grade. It's a solid grade, but over his 6-year career, he's had 2 interceptions, like 6 forced fumbles. The forced fumbles, I like that number. I'll give you that. I like that number. But 2 interceptions, and I think like 6 pass defense. As a slot corner, I just feel like you've got to produce more than that. And I think he allowed like 82% completion rate when targeted last season. So to me, that's just it screams of a backup role / special teams guy, and I'm cool with that. But I would have liked to see something different, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to see how the contract details trickle out. But Musab, how about you, man? Are you maybe a little bit more up on this guy?
Yeah, I would say so. At least compared to Zach, I would be a little bit more up on this guy. Listen, I mean, yeah, as Zach mentioned already, look, depth is depth, so I'm really happy with that. And I think, who knows? I feel like, maybe when the time comes, we'll be really needing him more than ever. But I do think that, he will be a special team kind of guy, if not the starting nickel. And our kind of nickel room, I mean, with him and Izzy, it's looking mediocre, all right? I mean, even the hype around Izzy and after the first 2 weeks with those back-to-back picks, it kind of made him look like that absolute steal, especially since he was an undrafted free agent. But then, I don't know, to me, kind of looked like he disappeared after like the rest of the season. But again, he was an undrafted free agent, so still some solid value, but not that maybe total steal as maybe where people were thinking. But so I guess I'm in the middle, but I do think that, yeah, we are going to still prioritize cornerback in the draft.
Yeah, I think what got me excited about it was mostly just that, now the Bucks actually have like at least guys who theoretically could start behind the main corners. Before it was Zion McCollum. I know D Delaney's a fan favorite of ours. Now it's not that. Now it's Bryce Hall and Tavier Thomas, who aren't starters. They're not great players or anything, but they're at least serviceable. I'm not going to be superly overly concerned if let's say whoever they end up placing out there next to Jamel Dean or Jamel Dean himself go down. It's just nice to have this kind of depth instead of just relying on Joe Schmo undrafted free agent or 3-year veteran. I don't know. I really like this sign especially because he's not going to command a lot of money. Like he's not going to be more than maybe the minimum or maybe like $1 million. So, for a 1-year deal, totally fine. I like it, but I get it. He's not the super splashy signing or anything, but one big splashy signing that did kind of happen around the division, Chase Young, he's a Saint. He's going to the Big Easy. There have been many memes about his unfortunate injury history, which, whatever. But, now him and Cam Jordan are sort of the defensive bookends of that defensive line. They've got Brees up the middle. And, if he can stay healthy, this could be an interesting defense. But does this move the needle for y'all at all with the Saints? Musab, we'll start with you, man. What do you think about this Chase Young signing?
I don't think the Saints are like a pass rusher away from being competitive.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I think, yeah, if I was a Saints fan, I guess I'd be happy. I think he'll definitely help him out if he stays healthy. But this makes me interesting as to why he's kind of hopping teams. I didn't really look much into that, and perhaps y'all can elaborate on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like San Francisco wasn't going to re-sign him to a big long-term deal, and San Francisco has so many other edge rushers as well that he's not going to be a feature guy. On the Saints, he's pretty much it for their pass rush, along with Cam Jordan. So I think he's sort of trying to parlay this into a longer-term deal. We'll see. I'm not sure how much faith I have in that. But Zach, how about you, man? Does this move the needle for you at all either, or you kind of like Musab? You're kind of like, who cares?
I mean, I'll never talk good on the Saints, so
Oh, for sure.
I feel like it's a mute point. No, I think it is a solid signing. I think that he's a good player. I mentioned I would have loved for Tampa to bring him in, and I don't even think he got all that much money out of this deal, at least less than what I was expecting. So I think it's scary to have to face him twice a year, but I'm happy that it's with the Saints, who, in all reality, don't have many weapons on defense, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I think this is going to sound morbid, but I think the reason that he didn't get so many contract offers, or the reason that he wasn't getting the amount of money that maybe we would expect from theoretically an elite pass rusher, is because who knows how many games he's going to play. He could go out there and he could play 5 games this year, and then they just spent five. I think it's upwards of 13 million is how much he could earn in this contract if he stays healthy. But I think it's a base salary of like 5 million or something. So, then you're spending $5 million on, high upside, but really, really low floor kind of guy. So, I don't know. He's a defensive end. He's not necessarily an outside linebacker type. So I kind of understand why the Bucs wouldn't bring him in. Yeah. And, they've got to allocate cap space to other places. And if they're going to sign a pass rusher, then I'd rather them maybe sign a more steady influence, more of a guy who's going to play at least 10 games. Chase Young hasn't, unfortunately, he just can't hit that mark, unfortunately. So I didn't mind the Bucs not signing him, but I'm with you in a vacuum. Like, yeah, Chase Young, obviously the Bucs would be better off with him on the team. But speaking of the Bucs signings, obviously they may have missed out on Chase Young, but overall, they've brought in some outside resources, but the main focus has been re-signing guys. Have you all been pleased with their signing decisions so far? Zach, we'll start with you, man.
I mean, I guess in terms of, am I happy that we re-signed everybody? Like, yeah. I wish there was a way we could have done more. outside signings, I would say, because I feel that there was a lot of needs on this team that kind of needed like an immediate fix and not a young drafted player. So that part kind of, I'm happy with all of our re-signings. I'll say that.
Okay. So maybe not necessarily super happy with the outside help. I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it's tough to deal with these kind of things, and free agency can be such a fickle thing in the NFL. So I understand, certainly understand not being as happy with their outside signings. But Musab, how about you, man? Maybe you're a little bit more pleased, or maybe you're kind of like Zach, hoping for more.
Yeah, I mean, more would be nice, but I am pretty satisfied with what we've done so far. I mean, especially in that DB room. Look, we got Whitehead. I know Bryce Hall and Tavir Thomas are not anyone super special, but when I found out about their signings and just the vibe I was getting from Jets fans and Texans fans, it seemed like they're not just completely just crap. Clearly, they can do something for us, and I think that's just going to be their role. I think they're just going to be role players, and that's all I really just wanted is just more and more depth. Now, I mean, on the offensive side, I'm happy with what we've done. Like getting Suopeta. He's coming from a really great Eagles offensive line. I know he didn't get too much kind of stardom over there just because of how competitive it is. And then with Ben Bredesen, don't know too much, but again, depth is better than no depth. So for now, I think I'm happy, but it just makes me think we are really going to need to kind of do a lot more better in the draft than I had thought in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to need to hit on some draft picks, but with this era of Bucs football that they're in, they're kind of walking this tightrope when it comes to the salary cap. So it feels like that's going to be the case moving forward a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a tough position to put yourself in for sure. Kind of needing to hit on a lot of draft picks because they gave all their draft picks a lot of playing time last year, which was interesting to see. And I feel like they're going to have to do that again this year. But looking around the NFL, kind of taking more of a big picture look, are there any moves around the league that kind of have you scratching your head, like you're kind of like, well, what the heck is going on here? Because there have been a lot of moves that have been made, a lot of trades, free agency, etc. So Musab, we'll start with you, man. Are there any moves that you're kind of like, what the heck's going on there?
Yeah, I guess I don't know if it's like too much what the heck, but I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. And that's the Pittsburgh Steelers getting Fields and having Russell Wilson. Just because
Or
also my cousin's a huge Steelers fan, during the football season, he'll be messaging me hashtag bang bang Steeler gang. So I had to really look kind of into it just so I can kind of really tease him. I don't know. I think it was interesting, especially and then with the whole kind of Kenny Pickett situation, all of those three quarterbacks just conglomerated into this Eagles Steelers kind of mess. I don't know. I thought it was entertaining for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That was kind of where I was going with it. Yeah, Fields is a weird one. I kind of expected maybe the Commanders or the Patriots to try to trade for him, and maybe trade back out of their high pick, but they're clearly sold on Drake May or Daniels or JJ McCarthy for whatever reason. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. But yeah, mine's got to be DeAndre Swift getting a lot of money from the Bears because, like, he had a great year, in Philly, but my goodness, you look at under the hood, that's a lot of money to give a running back that had, one really, really productive year behind an offensive line that has produced some really, really good running back situations. Miles Sanders, I mean, what did he do in Carolina last year? Not a whole lot. So I just thought that was really odd. Same with the Saquon Barkley signing. If you can get value out of middle of the road running backs because of your superb offensive line, then why would you give so much money to that position? I don't know. I was confused by both of those picks or both of those signings. But Zach, what are your oddest signings of this offseason?
I like both of those signings. I'm happy with those signings. So I'm glad the running backs are getting paid.
For sure.
I got two weird ones for me. The Josh Jacobs to Green Bay signing was wild, only because you had Aaron Jones. So when you signed him, I'm thinking this is going to be one of the best 1-2 punches in all of football. And then you release Aaron Jones right afterwards. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. You already have a running back that's very, very good. Why are we signing another running back that's very good and letting go of the one that knows our system already? So for me, that was weird. And then the Bears waiting so long to trade Fields. I feel like there's no way they didn't have offers already. And to wait as long as you did after every other quarterback signed just seemed crazy to me because you could have gotten more for him.
Yeah, theoretically, I'd like to agree on the Fields thing, but I don't know. I feel like maybe teams are just really low on him. I know you're really low on him, and so maybe teams are the same way. They're like thinking, oh well, we can get the Bears clearly don't want him. The Bears clearly don't. Bears clearly want Caleb Williams. So why give them an out of giving them a high draft pick for a guy that they're clearly trying to move on from anyways? Force them to release him. If you're gonna. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised, but I'm also kind of not surprised that there wasn't a huge trade market for him.
I get what you're saying, but it feels like I'm not high on Caleb Williams for multiple reasons. And I kind of, as much as I don't like to admit it, I kind of came around to Justin Fields toward the end of the season because he was playing solid football. The issue with me is not necessarily the Bears themselves, it's their GM. A lot of people like him in Chicago, from what I understand. Like one of my buddies is a Chicago fan, and he's like, oh, he's one of the best GMs ever. That's so false. Like,
Yeah.
You've not built a team around a quarterback you took very, very high. And now you're going to start over doing the same thing with a new rookie quarterback. But you still are not building the team the way that you should. So it seems like the Bears are just a whole mess, and I could talk trash on them all day, but I feel bad for Fields, but now he's going to go win the job in Pittsburgh. So,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. And Pittsburgh is a better situation than the Bears have been for the past few years. So it'll be interesting. It is weird that they're setting up a team that theoretically could support Justin Fields, especially if they traded back again out of the first overall pick. And they just continue to rack up picks and rack up depth and stuff like that. They could easily have a really good wide receiver room, a good defense, and then just give Justin Fields another year. And if he doesn't work out, then hey, draft quarterback next year. But
then you have another high pick because you're trading out of the number one spot again. Like, you have so many options there with that pick, and I think starting over with a new quarterback who I don't think everyone is sold on him. So to trade back would have been the ideal situation for them, and I think they flubbed it again. I don't expect Ryan Poles to be back next year.
Yeah, that could very well be the case. I'm not even necessarily taking a dump on Caleb Williams, but I don't know. I'm with you on the Chicago thing. Musab, how about you, man? Get in on this. Are you sold on Caleb Williams go to Chicago, or would you have operated that differently? I know you brought this up, so what were your thoughts on it?
No, I'm not really sold on Caleb Williams. I think there's been enough glazing around this world for him. We'll see how we'll see how he transitions into the league and all that. But I don't know. I'm not just too. It always kind of raises my eyebrows when someone's like the talk of the town, especially at the quarterback position. But we'll see how it goes. But I know that is the kind of vibe from the Bears that they do want Caleb Williams. So I guess we're in for a treat, or at least Bears fans are.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's looking for the next Mahomes, and people keep calling Caleb Williams the next Mahomes. So we'll see if that works out. I don't know. Although Zach, you're a big Pac-12 guy. I'm surprised you're taking a dump on Caleb Williams right now.
I mean, I'm just being honest. I will stand on record and say Jaden Daniels is going to be the best quarterback right away, and Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the best quarterback out of this draft overall.
Wow.
I think.
Okay.
So
might have to note that down.
Pac-12 love, just not USC.
Word. Hey, fair enough. But I'll shoot it right back to you, Zach. I know a mock draft came out for you this week, and I want to hear what give us your thoughts behind it. What's the thought process?
So my thought process is Tampa needs the best corner in this draft. Let's trade up and get him. So I traded our pick 26, pick 80.
The 2 third-round picks, right?
2 third-rounders and then 2 mid-round picks next year to jump up to, I believe it was 15 to get Terry and Arnold, out of Alabama. I think he's the best corner in this draft, and I think he's going to be a day one starter. So why not put him in with the rest of our great cornerbacks? And then some of the other ones that have been different than my draft so far, I got us getting Adissa Isaac out of Penn State on the edge in the second round. It might be a little early there, but I think if he's around, it doesn't hurt to take him. And then instead of Blake Corum, I finally came off the Blake Corum train because I traded both those third-round picks. We're going with Frank Gore Jr. in the 7th round, baby. So,
Southern Mississippi guy. Hell
sir,
yeah.
yes, sir. And that's really the only big differences on the mock draft this week. So, what do y'all got for me? Come on, let me hear it.
No, I thought it was interesting trading up, because I feel like the Bucs are going to be really excited about having 2 third-round picks and maybe trying to trade up into the 2nd round with both of those.
Yeah.
So that they can, sort of consolidate and have a 1st and 2 seconds, which would be huge. But we'll see how that all plays out. I do agree that they won't have to give up a 1st or 2nd or anything, because teams won't be able to take advantage of desperation.
Exactly.
They're not trading up for a quarterback. If the market is too intense, if teams are like, no, we want a future 1st or we want your 2nd, then the Bucs can.
Tampa's backing out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. No worries.
Options at corner that I think can still start day one at pick 26. I just think that Terry Arnold's the best. So this is one that, in my mind, is like best case scenario. We don't give up a 1st or a 2nd round, and we still get him. Worst case scenario, we come away with Rackstraw Jr. or Cooper DeJean, however you pronounce his name, at pick 26. And I'm happy with any of those 3 guys.
Absolutely. How about you, Musab? What are your thoughts on this Zach Lane mock draft? Oh, I think you're muted, big dog.
Oh, 2 for 3.
God, wow,
the
mute bug is going around. No, I like it a lot, especially the Frank Gore Jr. one. But
it hurt to take Corum off.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, but I really like Frank Gore. I saw him in person at a Southern Miss game this past year, and he's fun to watch, man. He's got some of his dad's skill set, and he should be. Hopefully, he'll be really good. Hopefully, he'll just be another.
Was he the one that was caught on video during the interview? I think his aunt came to hug him or something, and he was like, "Auntie, chill."
I don't know.
Probably.
I think so. I'm pretty sure that was him.
Word. Hey, you would know more than me. That's
RBLR shirt.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was him. Yeah, it was him. He was. It was a little post game interview. I think he had a really good game, and then his aunt came out of nowhere halfway through, and then I think he just kind of nudged her away and said, "Auntie, chill." It was him.
Word. Hey, I mean, what we really got to do though is we got to get his auntie an RBLR shirt. We got to get her some RBLR gear. And even if you're not Frank Gore's aunt, you can still get some RBLR gear at shop.rblrsports.com. Where the Rays season's about to get kicked up, the Rowdies are playing, the Lightning are in the midst of their season. Obviously, we're the Bucs show, so the draft is coming up. Get some gear, definitely check it out. We'll give you a 10% off promo code Cannons, CANNONS. That's Cannons. Type that bad boy in. You get 10% off your whole order. So even if you're not Frank Gore's aunt, you can still, score some sick merch. But after that shameless shot plug, we're going to get into some stuff that we know y'all will enjoy. Some player preview, some player scouting reports, whatever you want to call it. Some draft prospects preview. We are starting with the wide receiver position. Last week we focused on the different the different positions of need for the Bucs in the draft, and we're going from the bottom up. So we're going to start from our least, theoretically least important position, wide receivers. So we'll start with our round 1 and 2 guys. Zach, I'll throw it to you, man. Who's your round 1 and 2 guy for the wide receiver position?
I'm going Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. South Carolina, as he would say.
Yeah, that's right. He's a country guy.
Country as hell, and I love it.
For sure.
For me, he's a late day 1, early day 2 kind of guy. So he fits right into our 26 pick range if we were to take a wide receiver that early. But 6'1", 220, has really good hands. good top end speed for being as big as he is. So he's someone that I really like. We just got to work on for him. It's more being able to read zone coverages. He needs to work on, and then on a lot of deep balls, he tends to catch them with his body. Even though he has good hands, he tends to body catch on deep balls. So something that there's just minor adjustments that need to be made for him to be a really good wide receiver in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of gone viral recently for his little interview where he just sounds like one of my relatives in Mississippi or something. I mean,
Yep.
it's impressive to watch. Musab, how about you, man? Who's your round 1 or 2 guy for the wide receiver position?
Yeah, my round 1 guy is or round 1-2 guy is going to be Adonai Mitchell, or they also call him AD Mitchell from Texas. Now the reason why I want this guy, yeah, I think he's going to be looks like he's falling around that first round, that 26 pick range. And the reason why I picked this guy was, first of all, excellent route runner, super kind of just what do you call it? He's got good hands, and I mean the speed is just amazing. All right, and he's also got that size. Some websites have him listed at like 6'2", 6'3". I've even seen a 6'4". So regardless, the man has size to his advantage, which is good. Now the only downside is, I mean, now people are saying, kind of looking at the numbers when it comes to data, looks like he didn't really kind of shine too much, and he is ranked, kind of in the bottom of things like, yards after carry or yards after catch, all that stuff. But what I will say is only because I think that happened because, he played on a competitive Georgia team and a competitive Texas team. So, when you're looking at the stat sheet, it looks like, wow, this guy, he is good. But then on the stat sheet, you're like, well, if he really is that good, how come, he's not really kind of getting the reps as you would expect? I think that's what it is. That's what that issue was. But I think for him, if we utilize him the right way, I think he's going to succeed big time. I think he's going to be a role player wherever he goes. But if he kind of learns how the NFL works, and if he kind of just picks it up real quick, I think he's going to be balling out big time for sure. But the big thing for me is just kind of those 1v1 battles. I think he was embarrassing all those college boys. And now the only thing is, I don't know if that's going to work out in the NFL because it's a whole different breed. You're going against grown men. It's going to be a lot more physical. And I mean, these dudes are playing for the money. Ain't nobody going for education. So we'll see how it goes. So
Yeah, for sure.
wish him all the best wherever he goes.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him in a Bucs uniform. They haven't had a game-breaking wide receiver like that. I don't even know when. I can't even think of a guy. I mean, maybe Deshaun Jackson if you want to go that route. But yeah, AD Mitchell, really great dude. Xavier Legette, really fun. I'm going with, guess what? An LSU guy, Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are a bit of a stretch because if the Bucs are going to spend a first round pick on any position, not likely to be a wide receiver. But if Brian Thomas Jr. falls to that 26 spot, man, I don't know. It'd be tough to pass on him because then if you pass on him and he turns into the next, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, fill in the blank with a great wide receiver, then you're kind of, kicking yourself about it. So yeah, he's 6'3". He's got really, really good speed, super athletic. He's a really good rack guy, and he'd be great to kind of fill in immediately as the number 3 wideout with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but more long term, he could really replace Chris Godwin's production because Chris Godwin gets a lot of targets. So the big concern with Thomas is just that his route running is a bit sus. Similar to AD Mitchell, he actually didn't have a lot of production in college, but he only really had one really great year. Otherwise, he was kind of just a no-name guy in college, so it's kind of a boom or bust type of pick. But he'd be really, really fun to have as a vertical threat, kind of stretch the field with Mike Evans as well. So Brian Thomas Jr. is my guy. And now we'll move on to the round 3 to 4 guy, or day 2 guys, if you will. So I'll get it kicked off. Mine's also an FSU guy, Johnny Wilson, 6'7". He's huge. I mean, he's a beast,
bro.
Yeah, I really like him. Just because having him and Mike Evans out there at 6'7" and 6'5" would just be really stupid and just really fun. And giving the Bucs just 2 elite red zone targets that you could just have run fades on opposite ends of the, every team has maybe one physical corner that could maybe kind of match up with a big wide receiver, but I don't think any team has 2 of those guys. So it would be a lot of fun to watch that. Just a freaky athlete for his size, and he's a bit more adept at the racks type of thing than you would think for a guy who's 6'7". You think of a guy that big, you're not exactly thinking of Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill or anything like that. But he's got a little refinement to do in the route running and blocking spaces, and because of that, he has a problem creating separations with a lot of his routes. But he'd be a tough guy to pass on in that third round range for sure, especially since the Bucs have two third round picks. Spend one of them on a wide receiver if they haven't spent a pick on that position already. But Musab, I know you've got a guy lined up. Who's your round 3 or 4 guy?
Yes, sir. My round 3-4 guy is from Louisville by the name of Jamari Thrash.
Ooh,
Why do I
great
like
name.
this guy?
Elite.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. First of all, the playmaking skills. This was something that I didn't see from AD Mitchell. This guy, he really knows how to get those extra yards. Okay. I mean, he's not someone who just is juking out defenders all the time, but he will do whatever it takes. And he's shifty. That's what I like. He's really kind of smooth. He's got that kind of, especially when it comes to short spaces. So love that part. Now, the only kind of downside is when it comes to contested catches. I didn't see too much of that from his tape, or just after reading about him, it didn't seem like he was kind of those kind of contested catches kind of guy, which is okay. But also, one thing that may not be a big deal, but is a little bit to me, is he's going to need to size up. He's kind of skinny. I think he stands at like 6'1", 180, like in the high 180s. If he's going to want to have any success in this league, he's going to need to size up, because I think these corners and safeties are just going to bully him if he's just going to stay at that. But that's really about it, though. I mean, I'm really high on this guy, a little bit more than AD Mitchell, just because I think we're not going to go wide receiver. And if we do, then, I mean, that's crazy. But, if we're looking at these round 3-4 guys, this is where it starts to get a little bit more appealing, since obviously wide receiver is not a big priority for us. So love the guy. And I will now pass the mic along to Zach. Zach, who's your round 3-4 guy?
My round 3 guy, you guys are going to love this one, man. I'm telling you. Javon Baker, UCF.
Oh, man.
Another 6'1" guy, 208 pounds. Former Alabama player, wasn't getting much playing time in Alabama. Yeah, you agree with me? Wasn't getting much playing time in Alabama. Transfers to UCF and has a pretty solid season. He's a guy who, unlike my first round choice, is really good at reading zone coverages. So he's able to kind of find the blind spot for defenders. One of my biggest flaws with him is he's quicker rather than fast. So he's not bad at getting open, but it's beating guys deep at the third level of coverage, where he kind of has an issue of not being able to necessarily run those routes. So if he could work on that, I think he'd be a solid day 3 pickup.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that's day 3 technically.
Yeah, you're good. Javon Baker, he's a guy.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. His school choice was just really just like, I don't think he can be a Buccaneer if he's going to go to UCF. We're a USF football team if you're the Bucs. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Anyways, but no, all jokes aside, Baker would be a solid get. I really liked Thrash as well. He'd be a really interesting kind of playmaker, yak kind of guy. Do a lot of those bubble screens, which right now Devin Tompkins is sort of that role. It'd be nice to have, all due respect to Devin Tompkins, he's been very, very solid in that role for where they picked him up. But it'd be nice to have a really more solidified playmaker at the wide receiver position. So I really like the Thrash pick. But Zach, I'll shoot it right back to you, because I know you got to have at least one Oregon State guy for every position, right? So I know you've got one lined up, don't you?
I have to.
Oh, hell yeah. There we go.
And it is a guy who can take over for Devin Tompkins on those bubble screen routes. I've got Anthony Gould out of Oregon State. Carter's got his LSU. I got OSU. Anthony Gould out of Oregon State. He is a very, very small guy. 5'8", 5'8", I think like 175. But one of the hardest working football players you'll ever watch play. Being an Oregon State fan, I've watched him play over the years. Never takes a play off, is probably one of the highest motor guys I've ever seen play football, as weird as that sounds. But the biggest issue is his size. Like there's there's really no getting around that. He is a small guy, which means your quarterback has to be accurate on throws to him because of that lack of length in the arms and everything. So he's not going to be winning any 50-50 balls, but I do think he can outrun a lot of the defensive backs in the NFL.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you're always going to, with these day 3 guys, none of them are going to be, elite prospects. All of them are going to have
Yeah,
a plethora of imperfections because otherwise they wouldn't be day 3 guys. So,
exactly.
you'd love to take a chance on a guy with a high work ethic, like a guy like Gould. So yeah, that would be really, really fun to see for sure. Not just because he went to Oregon State though. Musab, how about you, man? Who's your day 3 guy at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, my day 3 guy is going to be Cornelius Johnson from Michigan. First of all,
Another
love that name,
great name,
Cornelius.
bro.
Yeah,
Another, what do you say?
I said
another great
another
name.
great name.
Yeah, 2 for 2.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Love the name. And also what I love is he's big, he's strong, tall, smart, agile, he's got great hands. Love the guy. I wouldn't say he could be a hidden gem just because of those kind of lack of diverse routes that I was seeing. So it could be something that, we'll need to work on. But again, I mean, if he is available, I feel like we should kind of reach out for him. Now, the only thing that is a little interesting is Michigan was a run-heavy program, so Cornelius Johnson's talents were not, in my opinion, used to the fullest. He had those great catches, those touchdowns, but imagine his numbers in a kind of pass-first offense. So I think his role, if we were to have him or wherever he goes, is he's going to excel in that kind of pass-first offense.
Yeah, I mean, when you're kind of unfortunately a victim of your scheme in college, especially because in the NFL, you're always going to get the ball as a wide receiver because it's such a pass first thing. You've got quarterbacks out the wazoo. Obviously, it's the NFL, so it's a lot easier to be a wide receiver. If you're talented, you're talented. But yeah, going to Michigan, you got JJ McCarthy as your quarterback. Yuck. I'm just kidding. I know people are high on him. I know he's probably going to turn out to be a fine quarterback since I'm hating on him so much. But yeah, I love the Cornelius Johnson pick. Definitely a really, really good name to watch, especially for day 3. My guy, more like an undrafted free agent guy, not even necessarily a day 3 person, but a Jew, go Bulls out of USF.
Go Bulls.
He's definitely an undrafted free agent type of guy. He's got a lot of holes in his game. He's not really a very big player. He's not an amazing route runner, but not horrible, I guess. Not super quick, but he can break away. He's just kind of fine at everything. He's not amazing. So yeah, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type of guy. But yeah, he'd be an interesting undrafted free agent target just because the Bucs will need some guys to fill out the practice squad. And you never know. And it's always nice to take a chance on a local guy that went to the school that's literally playing in the same stadium as you guys. So it'd be fun to see that for sure. But we'll see how it plays out. Overall, the wide receiver position, it's probably one of the more talented position groups in this draft, if not the most talented. There's a lot of depth here. If the Bucs want to, take a chance on a round 3 or 4 guy, they could easily luck into a starter for the next, 3 or 4 years, just by investing in that middle round. They don't even necessarily have to go high on this position. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. They could theoretically spend a first-round pick on the position if they really want to give Baker the most, bang for your buck, give him a lot of options. It'll just be something we have to see. But one thing you won't have to wait and see, we'll be right back next week. You won't have to wait until the NFL draft to find out more. So definitely hit that like and subscribe button if you like what you heard. We'll be back with some more position reviews. You can also give us a follow at RBLR Sports on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can see more of Zach Blaine, whether you want to or not, on TikTok, more of his ugly mug or beautiful mug, depending on your point of view. But regardless, we really appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll have some more awesome stuff for the rest of the off season. And as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.